So Rick Banks, the author of the book is Marriage for White People. Why would a white person or Latino person be interested in a book like this?
Well, part of the story is, and I've talked to a lot of people of other races who are very interested in it. Part of the story is that, a lot of times people think that what happens to black people is just about black people. And part of the message of the book is that what happens to black people is actually about all people, because the African-American experience is a universal experience. The black story is a universal story. So the same issues that confront black women, they actually confront women of all races to greater or lesser degrees. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason that is that women are doing better than ever educationally and economically,
right.
And that creates tension because it pushes them ahead of men in some ways. And you see that tension, especially in relationships with African Americans, but you actually see it among other groups as well.
How much does economics have to do with why black men and women are not getting married? Let me go on a little bit and expand my question a little bit. If women are doing better financially, and therefore don't need the man to be able to quote unquote provide, you would think that would then cause people to be more comfortable getting married because now there's two breadwinners. But it seems
right.
to be more of a conflict than it is a benefit.
Well, this can be true sometimes. Partly you're exactly right. And again, this is one place where you see the universality of the black experience. Black mm-hmm. women have been working for decades or tens of decades, many years before white women and other women entered the workplace. Black women earn more relative to men than any other group of women do relative to men of the same race. And you would think that would be a great thing, but in fact, and sometimes it can be, but in fact it can also cause tension. Because even those of us who seem to be very liberated still have somewhat conventional ideas about mm-hmm. whose role it is
yes.
to earn the money in the family.
Yep.
And so it's true that some men will feel insecure, right, about a woman who earns more than them.
And maybe the woman will feel like she's settling too much.
And she might feel like she's settling, or she might feel like if I make the money, I make the rules. And so you can have issues on both sides. Because most
wow.
of us, people who are adults now, have been raised to think of the man as being the one who supports the family. And while it's good for the woman to work, most women haven't been raised to think that it's their obligation to support their partner.
How about that? When you say it's a universal experience, I want to get into that a little bit. Obviously, the divorce rate is high for whites as well. We're just doing worse than they are, but their numbers are rising too. What's the lesson the universal lesson in that for all women, including white and Latino couples?
Exactly. Well,
the institution of marriage itself, I mean.
Oh, yeah, no, it is. You're right. This is, marriage is in trouble in some ways. And part of the story there is that people expect more from marriage now than they used to. When I was a kid, my father, who was born in 1913, he thought that if my sisters found a man who didn't drink, wasn't violent, and had a job, that was enough.
Sign him up.
But now people want more than that, understandably so.
Yeah.
But what that means is that it really takes a lot of time and energy to try to find a partner who can work with you and who can be an economic partner, who can be a parenting partner, and also who can be a psychological partner, just a friend, a confidant, all of that. And those are three very hard roles to have filled by one person.
What about the idea that people are getting married later as well? How is that causing a challenge for black, white, Latino, Asian men and women? Because that's got to change the dynamics.
Yeah, it does change it. I mean, getting married later, frankly, can be a good thing. And people have freedom to do that now because people are able to have children later. And if you get married later, usually you know yourself better. Your partner, they know themselves better.
How about that?
You know what you want from life. So there's a lot of research that shows that, people who get married when they're 20, when they're 30, they are more likely to stay together than people who get married when they're 20.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No. So there's a real benefit there. But the complicated factor in there is when the children come before the marriage. Right, so if you have children when you're 20 and then you get married when you're 30, I mean, that still might be a good thing to wait to get married, but then it's more complicated,
that's
right?
Right. See, it's a double-edged sword, man. I mean, we get one thing and we lose or give up something else. What about this issue of it was on my mind when I stopped my thought process. I forgot the point, and it was a good one. Hold on, I'm going to get this back. We'll edit this out, Juan, but I got to come back to this point I was going to ask Rick. Oh, Rick, I knew I should have wrote it down when you were talking. I'm ready to shoot myself. God, dog. You got a question for Rick, Juan?
That might be age.
Dude, it is age. I'm about to hit 50. It's about to be over, Oh, I know what I wanted to ask. When you wrote this book, Is Marriage for White People, did men and women tell you why they did not want to be married? Specifically, why it's no longer attractive to them?
Yeah, well, I think now, well, again, this is double-edged here, right? Because on the one hand, people have more freedom not to be married, and there are people who say, they want the freedom, they don't feel a need to get married, and that's a big cultural shift there. You don't have to be married, and it's okay, whereas that wasn't true 50 years ago. But at the same time, most people, and this is across all races, do think that ultimately, they want to find someone, right?
Yes.
And, sometimes that'll hit when you're 30. Sometimes it might not hit till you're 45 or 50. But at some point, most people think, I don't want to grow old, hanging out with my buddies or something, right? Because then a lot of your buddies have partners at too. So
you don't want to be the old dude at the club. I got you.
Right.
Yeah. And that was a question that I wanted to make sure was clear to the listeners, because men and women, I think that as we, I don't know if you want to call it an evolution, whether or not it's lack of social pressure, I think that many times, man, we don't feel the need to be married. We do want to have partnerships, but I don't think we feel the legal need to be married, and more women are feeling that way.
Oh, no, I think that's true. I think people, well, I would put it this way, people don't feel the need to be married, but most people at some point do still feel the desire to marry.
Especially if they've never been married.
Right. Most people. I mean, if you talk to college students, black or white, some of them will say that they want to get married soon, like they're really planning on it.
Mm-hmm.
But even the ones who'll say that they don't, they're not thinking about marriage now and they want to focus on their career, they are thinking about it in a longer term sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not sort of committed to never marrying someone, right? Because
Gotcha.
and partly that's because most of them want to have children.
That's right.
And for men in particular, marriage and children still go together even more so than they do for women, right? Who can imagine having a child and raising a child. But most men are not thinking, I'm going to just have this child on my own and, never hook up with anybody or, not be with the child's mother.
You all got to check out the book when you get a chance. Rick Banks, thank you so much for hanging out with me, man. I appreciate it. The name of the book is Marriage for White People. And thank you for igniting the conversation. I think it's an important one to have.
It has been a pleasure. Thank you.